One to Salt City Data Community. We are an organization that aims to increase diversity and create equity within the data industry. We do this by making education and data literacy workshops free online. So today we have a speaker session from Nico Diaz, who is the Chief Data Officer at the City of Syracuse, and Jason Scharf, who is the Data Program Manager at the City of Syracuse in their Accountability, Performance, and Innovation team. So this is the team that runs all of the data that exists for the municipality of Syracuse, New York. If you haven't been to Salt City Data Community before, we're really happy to have you. The way that these work is we'll go around, we'll do introductions, and then it will be handed off to our speakers, and they basically get the floor for the night. So hi, everyone. My name is Amanda D'Arcangelo. I'm a senior consultant at CTI Data, and I am a co-founder of Salt City Data Community. So I'll hand it over to Ashley.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley Jingaleski. I'm a co-founder of Salt City Data Community along with Amanda. I'm a data analyst in Syracuse.
Angela.
Hi guys, I'm here from Washington, D.C. and I do data analytics consulting, and I'm super excited about open data tonight.
Mary. Mary, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. My name's Marianne Barth. I'm a retired IT professional. My background runs the gamuts from mainframes to PCs to networking to you name it, and project management in more recent years since 2003. And I learned a lot last week, and I was really motivated to join you today. So looking forward to more.
Good to have you. Steve.
Yeah, my name is Steve Jaika. I'm a data professional from Canada. I specialize in smart city development, data governance, and data visualization, and of course, GIS.
Jessica.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jessica. I'm also based out of Washington, D.C., and I work in technology consulting.
Jihan, did I pronounce that correctly?
That's right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jihan Ayesh. I'm joining you from Rochester, New York. I'm a grad student at ULARC. I haven't worked with data before, but I started learning Python in September, so I'm motivated to learn more.
Awesome. And we have one new joiner. Philip, if you'd like to give a quick introduction, we're just going around and doing introductions before we get into our session.
Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. So I'm Philip Nikolaev. I saw this in the meetup. I'm a science and technology marketer and currently a student of data science and artificial intelligence. I'm interested in data and what can be done with it, so I came to just check it out. Thank you for having me.
Very cool. We're glad to have you. So before I hand it over to Nico and Jason and let them do their introductions, I do just want to announce Ashley will be sharing all of our social media links or the links to our YouTube in the chat here, if she hasn't already. Just keep an eye out. There is a poll that either already is or will be up on our LinkedIn and our Twitter accounts. We just ended our data basics training arc. So we're looking what the next big thing for Salt City Data Community is, and we'd love your input. So go over to our Twitter account or our LinkedIn account and you can vote on what you want to do. Or if you don't see what you want to do, feel free to message one of us and we can add it to the list of ideas. Okay, with that, I will hand over to Jason and Nico.
Awesome. All right, well, Thanks so much, guys. So yeah, I'm just gonna share our PowerPoint thingy. And so yeah, just gonna be talking about open data, specifically our portal here in Syracuse. That's awesome that we have folks from DC and Canada, and it's Rochester. So really, really excited. We will be primarily focusing on that. So yeah. So I'm Jason, the data program manager for the City of Syracuse API team, mainly focused on the open data portal. We have a data engineer that works with a lot of data warehousing, a couple of data analysts. So I'm kind of specifically focused on the data portal. And we have Nico on here also. I'll let him say a couple words.
Hi, everyone. Really appreciate the invitation. My name is Nicolas Diaz, but Nico for short. As it says in the slide, I'm at the City of Syracuse. I have the pleasure of working with Jason. I also have the pleasure of working with Amanda in the past. And really, my background is more of a generalist. I'm a master in public policy, and I came to data sort of haphazardly, but always with the interest of how to improve the way that municipal government functions through the use of data. And that is by looking at how we do better analysis, but it's also looking more broadly at the culture and looking at how we can serve our citizens better and looking at the processes. So I work with a fantastic team, and we do a lot of work just helping departments, but also in ensuring that we are thinking about data more broadly in terms of how we create an infrastructure for giving access to data. And open data is, of course, a huge pillar of that. And open data not only in the sense of providing more data online, but also in building community around open data. And that's why Jason's work and Jason's participation in a lot of community events such as this one, and really leveraging the value that this type of meetings have, even if it's a more intimate group, but just like interacting with folks that could be potential users of this data, getting feedback on what we can put out there is so important. So yeah, I'll just leave it Jason to do what he does best.
All right, awesome. So yeah, so it's just going to be, like I said, look at the data portal. First, just kind of like why open data. It sounds like a lot of you guys that are joining already have a pretty good understanding of that. But the main parts of open data, just increasing transparency about how the government, specifically ours in Syracuse, provides services, information about demographics, spending, crime, health data, and it really just kind of allows residents to see the data that drives the decisions, as the city's looking at, policing or, recent crimes and, the mall in Syracuse, just to really kind of get a look at, hey, what crimes have been happening? Where have they been happening? A lot of this information would be available through Freedom of Information requests, but a lot of cities are starting to put that information online. So residents can just download it. They don't need to submit a request. Lawyers for the city don't need to review it. They're just deciding what information can be shared and trying to make, as much of it shareable. So that's, Nico and I are really excited to be doing that and to share some of the things that we've been able to provide in Syracuse. All right, so as of right now, specifically this morning when I kind of ran it, we have 105 data sets that has 105 data sets, includes 27 of snow data, 10 budget data sets, 21 maps, 15 crime data sets, some housing, and then some newer ones. We put up a bike safety map, police officer complaint data, and some other government services. A lot of it's in location-based, some's in table form. So I'm just going to pull up our data portal and just kind of give you a bit of a tour. And it's still a work in progress. I feel like we've made a lot of progress on it. It's not perfect by any means. So if there's any, constructive feedback or, feel free to put it in the chat, and I try to, take that and really, just continue to make it better. So if you know what you want, you can search for it. If I know I want like crime data, you can search for it right there. If you're not really sure, there's some different topics. Right now, I'm just gonna, there's different categories. If I want maps, so then you can click on that to just look at the maps and the same housing, roads, snow. Data sets that have been recently added, we have just featured here. So we have the crime data, trash pickup day schedule. Let's see. And permit request is one that we've recently put up there. One that I think is kind of neat. It's the Syracuse bike suitability ratings. So like I said, a lot of it is map based, and this one is going to just be a map of different parts of Syracuse that have been assessed by the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. So it just kind of says, that's a good, that street segment is good for biking. You can also view this data in table form. And so if you only wanted, to kind of look at the ones that are, excellent, you're planning a trip, you could just look at that. And then, kind of switch back to the map and just, kind of like guide your bike, your bike ride to stick to roads that are safer. So that's one that we've recently put up there that I think is, I just think is kind of cool. All right. And also have, the recent police officer complaints that I was just kind of mentioning before. That's just a table data, and it doesn't say the police officer, it doesn't say like identifying information about who made the complaint, but it does say the date the complaint was received. It does have the DR number and how the complaint was received by. CRB just stands for Citizens Review Board. SPD stands for Syracuse Police Department. Number of complaints, and it also does show what the allegations made were, whether it's failure to act, unlawful search, excessive force, and it also goes over, were the allegations sustained, and if so, like how many of officers were sustained, how many unfounded, and let's see, and then if there was disciplinary action, none, suspended. So it's just interesting. That's a newer data set that we've been able to provide. We're going to be updating that quarterly, I believe, as we get new data from the accountability office at the police department. So that is a newer one. And also we have here just the most popular maps and data sets. A lot of folks will get maybe, parcel information, water services, TNT areas. So we just have those featured here also. A newer thing we've been doing is highlighting projects made with open data. Nico was mentioning that we spoke at a hackathon at SU earlier this spring, and 2 of the teams used open data. So we, whenever we know about that, we would like to feature that. So we just have the, the video where they talk about the project that they did, and we just really try to highlight how folks are using it, because just having the data on the website is great, but having the data be used for visualizations, analysis is awesome. It's even better. So yeah, I then just wanted to show you guys just a few different ways that this data can be used. And it's not going to be like, it's a cursory look. Sorry that we're not going to be doing like machine learning or really advanced data science. It's just a few different methods to really to kind of explore the data that is on there. All right, let's see. Oh, should have looked at my slide. All right, so first, ways that you can interact with open data. If you see data or if you can think of a data set that you would like to use that you don't have access to, you can make a data set request on our website, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. If you do make a project with our open data, please, please, please let us know and send us a link to your project. We'd love to feature that also. And if you'd like to be notified as we release new data sets every month, we send out just a real brief email, just letting folks know what data sets have been released that month, any open data trainings we're doing, like the session today we sent out, and then just any other really interesting, events that are coming up involving open data, we'll let folks know about. And then if anyone sees a mistake or an error in a data set or something that's missing, please let us know also. A real quick story with that. We have, put up the crime data for the last, I think 4 years in Syracuse we have. And I thought it was great. We put it up, this is awesome, it's available. somebody reached out to us to let us know, like, hey, you guys only have one murder documented for the last 4 years, which would be amazing if that was true in Syracuse. But as we looked at it, it was correct. We reached out to the police data analyst, and she said, oh, those records are MIC sensitive. We can't share them. But then she was able to pull some levers, and then she was able to send us that, the correct data that does have the murder values, which is, it just allows you to kind of better look at it and see trends and see which parts of the city are being affected by different types of crimes. So that was a really cool thing. I hadn't gone through all of those years of data, and I hadn't noticed that, honestly. So that was really cool that a resident was able to let us know that. So yeah, just on the bottom of our website, there's a section you can just request the data sets, just a quick little Google form, just your name, kind of email, and what data set you'd like to see. And if you have a project that you have done, the same thing, you can just kind of put a description of it, a link to the project. And then if we're able to feature it, I would love to do that. And I know Nico would too. All right, cool. So first way, just want to show you guys that data can be explored. And that's just kind of right directly through the data portal. We use ArcGIS Hub for our data portal. So that has some different built-in functionality. That one is loading kind of slow. So I'm just going to switch over. Sorry. All right, so this is this year's crime data. So it's the part 1 crimes, it's the more severe crimes. Part 2 are kind of lesser. So this is the part 1 crimes. So say if you're just kind of trying to take a quick glance, and want to see a little bit of information that's there. Code defined is the type of the part 1 crime. So say if I just want to look at burglary, that's really all that I want to look at. This will filter by burglary. And then say if I really want to look at a time range, say if I just want to look at the last month or so, this lets you kind of filter down to that amount also. So then if you wanted to explore that data further, you could download with just that filter data, which would only be 42 records. Or you can download the whole data set. So that's just kind of a real brief, quick thing that you can do to just kind of look at it and explore that. And then, let's see, I would imagine a lot of you guys have experience with Tableau already. Just kind of help guide how far into it I go. Can people give me a thumbs up if they have used Tableau already? I'm trying to see if I can see everyone.
Yeah.
All right. I see.
I'm invisible.
All right. I see 1,
The answer is yes.
2. All right. Sweet. I see Matplotlib, and I think I saw like 3 thumbs up there. All right. Amanda is giving me thumbs up. All right. So I will go into it a little bit just because there's still some that aren't super familiar. So just going to kind of go through a real quick data visualization in Tableau. So like we mentioned, let's see, sorry. So I would just download the, the ones, the data that I wanted, whether the one that was filtered already or the one that's not filtered. So I already downloaded that data set and just want to make sure that you guys can see my Tableau app. If someone, let's see, Amanda, could you give me a thumbs up if you can see that on my screen still? All right, sweet. All right, awesome. So basically, forgive me, folks that already know all this stuff. So I'm just going to put in the text file of that crime data. And let's see, Tableau, if you haven't used it, it's a free data visualization software. It's free to use on the public version if you share what you do online. If you want to use like private data, your organization has to pay for a subscription, which I guess is quite pricey, but the free version is awesome. And I like it. So, all right. So for starters, I'm just going to switch the date and right now it just has it as text. So I want to change this to a date. I'm just going to do date and time just because it's going to make it easier to keep track of that. And now I am just switching over to the sheet. That was just the data source that shows that. This is the sheet where we're going to build just a super quick visualization, and let's see. All right, I'm going to convert it to continuous, which I don't really know exactly what that does. I just know in order to chart it, I need to do it. I'm sure Amanda or someone else could explain what that is. But anyways, so I converted that to continuous. I'm also going to change it just to be day, because I don't, I want it to be broken down by day. I don't want the whole year worth of data there. And then I'm just going to kind of chart out the code defined, and that's the different types of crimes that we were looking at. So here, this isn't super helpful, in my opinion. So I am going to change this to a measure of count for how much. So this is the total crimes. So, it just shows like, which days were higher crimes for part one. If we want a little more information, we can take that code defined and throw it on color. And then that really kind of helps, just break down real quick, a little easier way to understand. So if I just want to look at larceny, that just helps me kind of highlight that better, motor vehicle theft, just that type of thing lets you do a little more analysis, and that. So just real quick kind of look at that. Any questions or any thoughts on the Tableau portion of using that data set? All right, no worries. And if anyone does have a kind of question or thought, feel free to raise your hand. I can see that on here if anyone has any questions or, just anything. All right, cool. So that's just super quick tutorial of Tableau. There's a million other things that you can do in Tableau. That's just very, very quick, line chart using the crime data. All right. All right, so that's just going through the steps that we just did. All right, awesome. So next one I just want to show was just making a map using ArcGIS. That's what we use for our data portal. So a lot of data we use is kind of tied to that. The ArcGIS, it's paid to use, but they do have a free student trial. They do have a paid student trial. But also, like I'll show you, you can play around with ArcGIS without a membership. You just can't save any maps you make, which is a pain. But at least it does let you kind of get in there and play around with it. Let's see. So I am going to be looking at our C-click-fix requests, and that's just a program that we have in Syracuse to document if, say if I leave a couch out in front of my house on the day I'm not supposed to, and Ashley drives by and is like, oh my gosh, Jason's a slob, she can report that I have some trash out, or they're just really, if there's a water main break, if there's a pothole in front of, it nearby, you can, citizens can report that also. Let's see. So I'm just going to switch over to the right page. All right, so to do this, I am, I'm just on the C-click-fix requests. I'm just going to open this in an ArcMap viewer. And if you're at all interested in mapping data, ArcGIS is a really, in my opinion, a really good skill to use, or to learn, sorry. All right, I'm going to switch over to the new map viewer. I'm just a little more used to that one. All right, so here we have the city line request. I forget how many rows are on this data. I'm just going to switch over to see. It looks like we have almost 13,000 rows of data. So that's a lot. To me, this map stresses me out. That's a lot of dots. I don't know what the heck to do with that. So I am going to just kind of style this a little bit differently to make it less stressful for me and a little easier to understand. All right, so I am going to style it by picking a field to basically assign it colors based on just a different value. So the field I'm going to choose is category. And then this, eventually once it loads, it's going to give me, you know, the different ones. Okay, street lights, recycling. These colors, you know, I'm not super crazy with them. So say I want to change the colors. You can just pick, you know, whatever you want. All right, that looks nice and depressing. So I'm going to go with that one. Let's see. All right, so done with that. And then it's still just a ton of dots. I want to see trends. I want to see what parts of the city are, you know, these things happening on. So I'm going to enable clustering just because it kind of just changes the way that it provides it. So now we can just see a little bit. The color is going to be the most predominant kind of request that was made in that. So we have a lot of bright red, and that is a lot of larger bulk items. So I'm going to zoom in just to get a little bit more. So you can just kind of start to see which sections of the city may have a lot of these types of things grouped together. So if I click on this, it's going to show, you know, 9,169. The most predominant value was larger bulk items. Over here, let's see what yellow is. That's illegal setouts. So just a little bit, you know, if we click on downtown, that is sewer backups. That makes sense that it's, you know, happening downtown and not really anywhere else. Over by the mall, we have sewer backups also. That's also near the water treatment plant. So anyways, so that's just a super quick. There's a lot more other things that you can do in ArcGIS. That's just a real quick thing. So right now I'm not signed in to my ArcGIS account. So anybody can just log in and play around with this. Like I was saying, the only thing I can't do is I can't save it. I guess I can open it, but either way, you know, you can, like, you can do the free trial. I know there are other free mapping software. I just wanted to show that one. All right, any questions or concerns with the ArcGIS mapping?
I have a quick question. I
Sure.
was looking on the site and I saw that that you all made the APIs available. Did you link this with the API, or are you just downloading an Excel spreadsheet, uploading it there? Or is there a way that you're linking it so that it's continuously updating if you do save it as a map?
Let's see. So that is a very good question. So yeah, that honestly is something that we're working on. Like, so our data sets, a lot of them regularly update. Some of them are like static data sets that are just, you know, kind of historical data. The 2021 crime data won't change. So honestly, I think it would depend how you built the map. I do believe that there's ways for you to build maps that are automatically updated with this data. Honestly, that's something that I'm still exploring myself, because I am working on a crime map that I want to auto update as we share new crimes with our crime data set. So I know it's possible. I'm specifically trying to do it with ArcGIS. I would imagine there's ways to do it in Tableau. Honestly, Amanda may know more about that because Amanda used to be our data engineer also.
So yeah, actually, I do have a little insight into this. So the API that is available, whether you're downloading an Excel file or an updated version of that data, depends on how the data is structured in the Open Data Portal. You'll sometimes see in the name of the data set, it says like July 2020 or something like that. That is a static data set. If you don't see any nomenclature around the date, the expectation is that that's an updating data set. And if you link to any application using that API, so like I'll pull that down into Python when I use this data, and that API will refresh when you go and run your code again in like 3 weeks or whatever if that data is updated.
Gotcha. So if you link this, if I go in here, because I've never used ArcGIS before, but it looks like an interesting tool. If I go in there and actually link the API to the Syracuse page and create my map and save it, it should automatically update if it isn't a static data set.
That's my understanding. I don't use ArcGIS too often because I don't do a ton of GIS mapping. But I do know, so you can do the API through ArcGIS. You can also use, there's a free version of ArcGIS that has fewer features, and that is called Q.
QUE or just Q?
I'm pretty sure it's just Q. Let me check though, and I will put a link to it in the chat here.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. And excellent questions.
QGIS. QGIS is, I think, the free version. Yeah. Just a couple of questions that I have, and some of them are comments. By the way, congrats on this. This is some great work that you guys have done.
Thanks, Steve.
You know, so I live in Canada, and I led an open data program for the last decade in a large Canadian city. We're about 800,000. And we also use the ESRI portal. And I sit on an Ontario-wide community for open data where I meet with other open data professionals across Ontario. And there's about 400 municipalities, large and small. And I would say that most have an open data portal. Most of the larger ones have an open data portal. Resources, though, are very limited. So I'm impressed with the work that you've done, given the size of Syracuse and what you've pulled together here. This is some really neat stuff that you've produced. I'm going to ask you a little bit of a question. I got a couple of things to say here, but one is manual publishing. This is something we were struggling with. We're a large city, and we were struggling with the idea of data that's constantly changing, like work orders, and you want to spray work orders or 311 calls on a map or in your open data portal. So we were actually looking at a separate API, not from the portal outward, but rather from the source CRM, which in our case was Salesforce, from Salesforce into ESRI, so that data flow happens automatically. And we were looking at doing that through a platform like Azure. But one of the things was we didn't have Azure. We didn't have a whole data governance strategy. We didn't have data classification. So like you had mentioned, persons' names in the police report there, that's really important stuff for government. I mean, if you make a mistake there, you end up in the newspaper. And so that was certainly an issue for us. And I'll just kind of wrap this with a couple of things. Our vision was really beyond the technology part. The vision that most cities across Ontario were facing is, what is this data actually telling us? It's wonderful that it's out there. That's fantastic. That's like a huge star. But the next level of this is almost getting a citizen movement together that can solve some major problems like Vision Zero and affordable housing and climate change that I'm sure is facing many American cities. So if you have any thoughts about that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, those are excellent questions and points, Steve. It sounds like you're speaking Nico and my language a lot, in terms of setting up those auto update pipelines, data governance, really making sure that we have the mechanisms in place so that we don't share confidential data. So I would say it's very much a work in progress. I am definitely proud of the work that the Syracuse API team has done with Open Data Portal. I just started with them a couple months ago. A lot of this had already been done before I came. For a smaller city, I would say that we are very data-centric, data-focused, but we definitely have a lot that we can do to grow. So yeah, I honestly would love to connect with you afterwards sometime to learn more about the work that you did in Canada. If I can ask real quick, what city were you working with Open Data Portal on?
The city of Mississauga, which is just west of Toronto. We're about 850,000, something like that, population.
Cool. Yeah, honestly,
Wow.
yeah, I would definitely love to connect. But cool. But yeah, if it's all right, I'll just kind of push on just because I did want API that Amanda was talking about a little bit. Yeah, very excellent questions. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nico. Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment because you often don't hear about this, but Canadian cities, like, I've been really impressed by what some of the Canadian cities are doing when it comes to data. I'm a huge fan, really been leading on the open data movement as well. And yeah, I completely agree with you, Stephen, on a lot of points. When we think about the work that we do, we always try to remember that it's not only about building a technology solution, it's more of a culture shift that we're seeking. And it's not, our KPI is not only like how many data sets we put out there, it's also how many departments we are reaching, how many conversations we're having internally. And the other day, I think I got a good sense of what the culture shift, those seeds that were germinating were like when the police chief reached out to me and he was like, hey, Nico, we have this new program that we want to implement, this police athletic league, and it's a new thing for us, and I want us to be data-driven from the start. So can we set up a meeting to work on to get the guidance? And to me, when the police chief just puts it that way, like that means that we've done something right. But yeah, you're right on a lot of other things as well. I think the philosophy of open data for a while has been build it and they will come, sort of thing. And one framework that I really leverage about how to think about, okay, now how do we take it to the next level? How do we, stimulate systemic change in our communities through open data? Has been some of the work that the GovLab at NYU have been publishing. They're big proponents of what they call the third wave of open data. That is a publish with purpose model. Which maybe you've already looked at it, but I'll also mention it for the purpose of everyone else. I think it's really interesting and it's a lot more involved. It's and it's a lot more about what we were mentioning in the beginning. It's a lot more about community. It's a lot more about problem identification. It's a lot more about stakeholder engagement, because just an open data program by itself, it doesn't improve anything, right? But when we get together and we identify which issues we can solve through data, and not just the city government, but the city government in collaboration with other owners, potentially even bringing in the private sector. Like I think the private sector in many instances have shown willingness to share data, but it just needs to have the right incentives and the right structure that guarantees that we're getting somewhere. So I digress, but I thought that was a really important comment.
Oh, thank you. Great response. Yeah, GovLabs for sure. Third wave of open data. I love it. I feel so at home in this group. I don't know why. It's just, this is just a great group. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, thank you, Nico. So yeah, just kind of switch over. And great questions.
Oh, Jason?
Yes.
Hi, I just, as a Syracuse resident, I just want to comment on a feature that I really enjoyed seeing this year. And it's on the streets being plowed, when they were plowed. And there were a number of comments online about, well, gee, what about our street? And they were outside the street. I said, well, it's up to the different towns. But hats off to the great job and that's something that affects us moment to moment. If somebody's trying to get to school or to work or whatever, that's the easiest.
Yeah, that was Joanna, one of our analysts that has worked a ton on that. Thank you very much for that feedback.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Cool. All right. So yeah, then thank you. Another quick way that folks can interact with open data is using the API. So like Amanda was mentioning, each data set has its own unique API. So for this one, we're going to look at the downtown restaurants data set. And let's see, I'm going to go back to, all right. So here we would just go down, there's a little API resources tab that we're going to click on, and I'm going to open the API Explorer. So I know there's ways that you can use these links to interact with the whole data set. I haven't played around with those myself yet. I'm just going to be focused on the API Explorer to kind of make queries of that data. All right, so say on this one, so say if I wanted to make a website to kind of help me decide, or to help people decide, you know, where they want to go to eat, and I want to specifically filter what businesses are open late at night, you know, what businesses that are still open in Syracuse, you know, after COVID are open late. So I would just put a kind of a parameter in here. So in this one, I've already kind of looked through the data set. I want to look at the subcategory. And in this case, I'm going to do late night. And let's see, for the output fields, I just want the name, and I want the address of the business, and I want to get the website, and I want the latitude, longitude points. Whoops. Sorry, the latitude, longitude points I want to get back. So then I would just get the response, and then it's going to respond, you know, return here the names of the restaurants in downtown that are open late. It also provides the latitude, longitude. So if I want to use it for a web application, I would just use this, this query URL that's been provided over here that already includes, you know, the fields. And obviously you could kind of use that and kind of swap out different types of fields to make it a little easier to navigate. But that, I think it's a cool way to kind of interact with, you know, the REST API that's provided through ArcGIS Hub. And that's just, you know, the PowerPoint kind of takes you through how we did with that. And then in that response that we showed, you know, it just, my JavaScript's kind of rough, but I'm pretty sure that would be the JavaScript code if we want to just show the name of the restaurant, how we would kind of parse through the features, attributes, and that stuff. So yeah, those were kind of the main three ways that I wanted to show of how to interact with our data portal. So yeah, any questions, comments, or concerns, or yeah, or ideas on things we could do to kind of make it, you know, better?
So I just want to note that in the chat, Steve asked if you're on LinkedIn. So if you're comfortable, Jason, feel free to put your LinkedIn URL here.
Sure. Let me think. I don't really remember it offhand without kind of searching it up, man. Amanda, is there any way you could grab it for me and put it in?
Absolutely. I already actually had. I just didn't want to paste it until you gave the.
Yeah, that's 100% fine. Thank you. Cool. All right. Thanks. Cool. But yeah, and so yeah, and I guess I'm curious, Amanda, in terms of, like, say if, like Jessica was saying about having a visualization that was automatically updated and refreshing new data, is that something you think, would she just call that URL without the parameters? Is that how you think would work for that? Or when you're pulling it in Python? Sorry, I don't mean to keep.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can do it. You can use this query URL, or back in the full details, you can use no, go back all the way up. Where were those, like GeoJSON and Geo?
Sure, yep, just in the API resources.
Okay. Okay, so you can copy either one of these links, and those will also give you the full data set in your desired format.
Sweet. Thank you.
Well, this has been a really great chat. Did anyone have questions or topics they'd like to chat about and talk more about open data and transparency in government?
I just had one additional statement. So I know that you guys were asking for feedback on the site or looking for additional ways that you could update the site. I don't know, as it would have it this week, yesterday, I was looking at Baltimore's open data site, and I found that the Bloomberg Foundation actually has a certificate with a number of other cities that do open data as well around the US. So if you look at their website or just Google them, you might be able to see what other cities are doing that have gotten them on the list. Like I saw some cities in California and DC where I am, and then Arizona. So that might be a good place to look if you're trying to see what other cities are doing to build out your section.
I think you're referring to the What We're City certification, and I'm proud to say that we're also What We're City certified.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Cool. Yeah, I just got done with a work assignment Nico gave me to kind of pick like 5 really good data portals and kind of study their websites and jot down like best practices. So very, very good advice, Jessica. Cool. Yeah, any other questions or thoughts?
Do you have a link to that certificate? Not familiar with that in Canada.
Oh, I think I can find that. Let's see, I'll just chat. How the heck do I get to chat when I'm trying? Man.
Oh, yeah, I can see
What?
it. Somebody.
Nico just threw it in the chat.
All right, thanks, Nico. I'm like looking for the chat box and I can't find it anywhere. All right, cool. Perfect. Thank you. But yeah, yeah, so that's that. We are silver certified. We're looking to, just continue to improve on what we're doing. We're proud of the work that we've done, but we know that there's always ways that we can improve and learn from other cities and, learn from, our residents and, you guys, even folks outside of our area here, giving a lot of great ideas and pointers.
I do have one additional question. Do you guys track, like you know on the site which dashboards are the most popular? Do you publish the data about how many people actually look at the site, or just do any analysis on the people that visit the sites and what they're looking for?
So yeah, I'm only laughing because we were just talking about this yesterday on our team. So yeah, we do. ArcGIS does show us like how many times data sets are viewed and downloaded, but in terms of tracking like how much time people spend on the website and what parts of the country people come from to visit the website, I don't believe we currently track that now. So that is definitely something that we are looking to get more information about. But yeah, we do look at kind of like what data sets folks are engaging with most. Yeah, very, very good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys. No, these are great questions. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, are there any other questions? If not, we have a couple announcements and then we can wrap up.
Yeah, just a comment. So in Canada and now in North America, there's something called Open Cities Index. And so it's kind of like the Bloomberg piece, but it's a little bit different. They actually rank your city from 1 to N. And this has been used for a while in Canada, and just last year, the year before, they opened it up to North America. So if you want to get ranked on a North American scale, that's one way to apply for that. And they do this index every 2 years, I believe. So next year will be the time that it's done. So it's similar to the Bloomberg piece, but you get a number. Pretty thorough.
Thank you for
It takes a
sharing.
while to fill out too. I'll add that for a large city. There's like a 10-page checklist you have to go through to submit in order to get certified.
Thank you for sharing that, Steve.
Yeah, and Mississauga ranked 8th in the last go.
Nice.
It's kind of cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I will check it out for sure.
Well, thank you guys. I'll hand it over to Amanda then. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, Amanda, I think you're muted. Oh, I still can't hear audio from you. Okay, so I think, I'm not sure what's going on with the audio on WebEx, but Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think for our final announcements, just a reminder that we've got a poll up about what our next sessions are going to be for our kind of training courses. We have a couple different options, including some of them being like discussion sessions that are kind of topic based, and then other ones for like technical tutorials and things like that. So be sure to check that out. There's a link for that up if you scroll to the top of the chat. And then I think other than that, Jason, Nico, thank you so much for presenting to the group. It was really cool to see everything with the data portal, and I'm excited to interact with it, and I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone else as well. There might be other interests for it. But yeah, thank you for presenting to us.
No problem. Our pleasure.
But,
you.
have a good night, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a good evening or good night.
Okay.
Thanks.
Night. Thank you. This was great.
Thanks, Steve. Bye, everyone.